The battle for promotion next season will be an absolutely fascinating battle, with teams coming down from the Premier League looking to bounce straight back and get themselves back to the Premier League, and even clubs coming up from League One potentially looking at the Premier League, and clubs that have been knocking on the door as well for promotion for a few years now will also have their eyes on promotion this season in the Championship. We're going to be discussing what I think of this kind of battle for automatic promotion and a little bit of the playoff picture as well going into the new season. If you go on to enjoy the video, do help me out and drop a like down below. And if you're a Championship fan, we upload daily Championship content. So if you want to be in the right place for the new season coming into the Championship, hit subscribe on this channel. It takes 1 second. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, hitting that subscribe button, it'll be very greatly appreciated. Now, of course, we've got to talk about last season's promotion battle. And it really was a fascinating one. But it ended up being a pretty convincing promotion, you have to say, with 100 points for Leeds and Burnley. About as convincing as you can get. But it was a fascinating battle with Sheffield United in the mix for the vast majority of the season. And they'll want to be back in the mix again this season, I'm sure. There was such a big gap between those two teams in the rest of the division. I mean, Sheffield United, say, were up there for the vast majority of it, and they were definitely in the conversation. But you look at the gap at the end of the season, was a pretty big gap, and Leeds and Burnley thoroughly deserved their promotion. Then you had Sheffield United on 90, and from then downwards, from Sunderland downwards in terms of points total, Sunderland got it comfortably in the end, but then the rest, it was a pretty low points total for the playoffs. And it was a fascinating battle for the players. And I don't think, as I said, I've said this a few times in videos, I don't think there was a huge gap in terms of anyone in the division, even from Sunderland from the second half of the season, all the way down to the bottom of the league. There was obviously a gap between these teams, but the gap was nowhere near as big, in my opinion, as what it was from the rest of the division. You look at the top two teams, that was the biggest gap out of any of the division. The rest of the league was very, very tight from there downwards, which always gives you a chance, if you're a mid-table club, like, say, a Swansea coming into next season, or, well, anybody really who starts the season well next season, you always have that kind of thought in the back of your head that if you start the season well, we've seen Bristol City get into the playoffs. You know, anything can happen. Like, you could, a team that sat in mid-table this season could very easily, or sat towards the bottom, could very easily find themselves in a position where they could maybe sneak playoffs. Because we saw Bristol City, they had multiple mid-table finishers, literally the Championship mid-table team, like, definition-wise, they were. And even they managed to sneak themselves into the playoffs with 68 points. So you never know, any team from, as I say, mid-table will have their eye on them players potentially if they can get a good run of form together, especially at the start of the season. And just looking at the odds for promotion for next season, just looking at what kind of the bookies think in terms of who they think is going to be right in the mix for promotion, is it any surprise Ipswich are right at the top for the title? We absolutely expect them to be well in amongst it. We'll discuss them in a bit more detail later on, but absolutely they should be up there. Southampton second favourites, I absolutely agree with that, to be honest. I think with the players coming back from loan, they've got a very strong squad anyway. I know they only got 12 points in the Premier League and it was absolutely atrocious. But the gap is so big. We know how big that gap is between the Premier League and the Championship. And a team can get absolutely done in the Premier League. But then when it comes to the Championship, it's a completely different ballgame. Sheffield United is predicted to be finishing third again. And predicted to be well in amongst it again, which they should be. But a lot of question marks with Sheffield United again, which we'll get into. Birmingham City is a very, very interesting one, of course, getting promoted from League One. I think a big reason why Birmingham is so highly up in terms of where they're predicted is the fact they've got that new stadium that's being built, of course. Then also, I think the fact that Ipswich got them back-to-back promotions a couple of years ago, I think the bookies are definitely not wanting to make the same mistake in terms of they want to be putting Birmingham at decent odds because they're a team that they expect to be right in and amongst it, and I absolutely agree with that. And Coventry are a team that definitely could be in amongst it as well with Leicester. But we'll just start off by talking. We'll talk about the relegated Premier League teams to start off with. Of course, we know the teams that went down were... Oh, it's got us on the new season, which is interesting. Yeah, of course, we know the three relegated teams were Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton. Now, we'll start off with the team that's in probably the most awkward, definitely the most awkward predicament out of the lot, and that's Leicester City. Because they're looking at the fact they might get that points deduction. If they get a 6 to 12 point deduction, then they can pretty much write off their chances of getting automatic promotion. Can they still get playoffs with the 12-point deduction? Absolutely. We saw Sheffield United get 90 points or 92 points without their deduction. And they so easily got into the playoffs. So Leicester could easily put up a season where they get 90 points with a 12-point deduction. They're comfortably in the playoffs still. So it's going to be an interesting summer with Leicester. Obviously, they've got a few of the old guard going in terms of Jamie Vardy's going to be obviously going. Wilfred Ndidi looks like he'll probably be on his way at some point as well. They've got some players that can definitely step up. El Khanous will probably be on his way as well. There's some real key players there that could be on their way. So there's a lot of question marks in terms of what Leicester are even going to do in the transfer market. So in terms of that, if this points deduction is going to happen, even if it's a 6-point deduction, I don't think they'll be able to get automatic promotion, in my opinion. But if it's a 12-point, they definitely won't. So Leicester I think they'll be in the mix for the playoffs, even with that deduction. I think they'll still be absolutely fine. Right, we'll go to Southampton next, where I actually like what Southampton are cooking up at the moment. They've brought in a centre-back from the second tier of the Bundesliga who's absolutely rapid. They got Ronnie Edwards, who's coming back from a loan deal at QPR, where I'm a QPR fan. He was genuinely our best player in the second half of the season. They had Shea Charles, one of the better DMs or centre mids in the Championship. So they've got a lot of players coming back. Question marks over kind of Tyler Diblin. What will happen with him? Will he stay? Will he go? All remains to be seen. Now that they had that wild valuation they had of him, which I don't think they'll be reaching. With Tyler Diblin, he burst onto the scene, Diblin did, and he was so impressive. In the second half of the season, I did think he struggled. But as I say, he's still like 19 years old. He's gonna get so much better, and he's gonna be a future top talent in the game. So if Southampton keep him in the Championship, he'll be a cheat code. They've also got Fernandes as well, who's in my opinion was probably Southampton's best player in the Premier League last season. Genuinely a very good talent. 20 years old as well. You think he's a little bit older. I didn't realise he was that young, and to be affecting the games the way he was for a side that was so poor. You noticed him on the pitch as a standout player for Southampton. It was quite clear to see when you watch him. So he's a player, if he does play in the Championship, incredible talent. Will he play? I'm not so sure if he'll actually stay at Southampton or not. But as I say, new manager in Will Still. A lot of positivity and a lot to be looking forward to as a Southampton fan, in my personal opinion. They always bring through good talents, and they've already got a talented squad in terms of in the Championship. It's a very talented squad. In the Premier League, not so much. But I think they'll be right in amongst the kind of top end of the table in terms of getting promoted. Ipswich Town, again, these will be the absolute favourites of the Championship. When you look at the players they've got, they got a super team. Like, it is a Championship super team. Now, I know they've lost Liam Delap, which isn't ideal. Of course, that was expected. And then, as well as that, they're losing potentially Kayuste. If they bring back Kayuste, honestly, he was Ipswich's best player in the Premier League. If they re-sign him, I think that's absolutely, for me, the title sealed. Because rumours of him maybe coming back, it would be unbelievable if they did bring him back. But you look at the players they've got, the super team is what I say, with Sammy Schmoditz, top scorer in the Championship a couple of years ago. Jack Clark, we know how good he was for Sunderland. Even if they got Obenny, it'll be like a new signing when he's been out injured all season. Philogene in the Championship last time was an absolute joke. And then as well as that, you got Dara O'Shea, they've just signed on a long-term contract, really good centre-back. Ipswich's best defender last season really was their mainstay centre-back, who was very impressive over the course of the season for Ipswich. And 35 starts, was their best defender. Jacob Greaves dropping down a division as well. You expect him to be very good in the Championship. And the main talking point with it for Ipswich is the fact they've got Kieran McKenna, who looks to be staying at Ipswich. And if they've got him in charge, they've got every chance. They've got a lot of pressure, by the way, to do well this season with the squad that they've got. The kind of way they invest in the Premier League, they should really be getting promoted. They should absolutely be getting promoted automatically, in my opinion. I do think they will be able to do that. Now, we'll just discuss some of the teams in the Championship where I think they could be in the mix. Will they actually be able to push for autos? I have question marks, but will they be in the mix of the playoffs? Definitely, in my opinion, I think they definitely will be in the mix. Sheffield United, we'll start off by discussing. Now, of course, they lost that playoff final. A lot of question marks with the squad, because I don't think Hamer can stay. I really don't think Hamer can stay after the season that he's had, obviously Championship Player of the Year. I don't think he can afford another season in the Championship. I think he's just quite simply too good for the division. And if you left Sheffield United, obviously Sheffield United fans can thank him, and I think they'll understand that Hamer probably doesn't deserve another season in the Championship given the way that he was last season. There's a few question marks. Obviously, Michael Cooper, depends on what kind of goalkeepers move where in the Premier League. He'd be kind of a top target for a Premier League club towards the mid-table / bottom end of the table. I really think he'd be a target for other teams. The centre-back is Hamadodzic, if I've said that right, but he could maybe be on his way. Few clubs interested in him, and Vinny Souza as well, I could really see joining another Premier League club as well. So you look at that's their key players. Their team could get absolutely ripped apart. They're under new management now in Ruben Sellers. How is he going to get on? Obviously, it's a more kind of he's the owner's man, really, in terms of the fact that he runs a lot of his kind of managerial style off data. Sheffield United are going for that kind of data approach. Chris Wilder, you wouldn't imagine, is too interested in that kind of thing. So it's a manager that the owners are fully behind, and it all remains to be seen. With Sheffield United, I am a little bit concerned because they have got a lot of players that have got question marks over. They've also got some quality in the side. They've got Ollie Arblaster coming back, who's going to be like a new signing. They've got Sidney Peck as well as two players that have such young talents that are in the middle of the park that have really looked impressive when they played for Sheffield United over the course of the season. Obviously, Arblaster at the start and Peck towards the end of the season as well. So there's a lot to like about Sheffield United. Also Harrison Burrows as well, a very good left back, one of the best left backs in the league, if not the best, after Firpo this season anyway. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like, but a lot of question marks right now for me for Sheffield United. Now, I want to discuss Coventry as well, because they've been a team that, it feels like they're building towards promotion. They're getting closer and closer every year. They've obviously had a couple of playoff campaigns, and they've always been in and amongst it in the last few years, and it feels like they are starting to build towards that promotion season. Now, could it be this promotion season? I think there could be a second spot open, if either Southampton or Ipswich, who are the current favourites right now, don't perform. A team like Coventry could take that opportunity and potentially get themselves in there. Do I think they'll actually be able to get in the autos? Personally, no. But as I say as well, there's a lot to like about this team as well. You've got Jack Radoni, top championship talent, was so good under Frank Lampard once he came in. He felt like him and Frank Lampard have worked together absolutely perfectly. Goals, assists, he brings so much to the table, and a real presence on the pitch as well. Very good player. Matt Grimes was an excellent signing in January. Real dictator, can control games. Something that Coventry really, well, no, I wouldn't say they missed, but something that really gave Coventry a different dimension in that second half of the season. Now, up top, they got Hadji Wright, questionable finishing, but very good player on his day. And Coventry are a team that's got a lot of potential. Mason Clark as well did pretty well under Frank Lampard, especially at the start when he came in. Bobby Thomas, top centre-back. They've got the foundations there for a team that can really, I think, push playoffs absolutely again, and potentially even sneak into automatics if things go their way. As I say, do I think they'll be able to do it? Personally, no, but I think they'll be well in the mix come the end of the season. So, interesting there. Now, other teams I'm looking at, thinking who can break in to automatic promotion, I just don't think anybody else could. We're going to do a video more discussing the playoff battle in general, but I think Coventry could have a good season. I think Millwall will be up there as well. I said Coventry, I meant Swansea. And then Millwall will be up there as well. West Brom will come back as well. We're going to discuss them in a little bit more of a video in terms of the playoff picture and who I think could be maybe dark horse to get into that playoff position, as we saw Bristol City got it this season. And I just want to discuss the two League One teams. Now, automatic promotion may be a little bit far, but can you absolutely rule it out? Maybe you can. Maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but I'm seeing Birmingham maybe signing Damari Gray right now. The rumours are coming in. And as I say, you saw it happen with Ipswich. Birmingham got the record points in League One. Can you absolutely rule it out? Some of the teams that come down from the Premier League, Leicester, have the points deduction. That could be one team you're ruling out of an automatic promotion race. Then it takes only one of Southampton or Ipswich to falter. And then you think there's a spot potentially open for a team that can maybe sneak out second place. Birmingham could potentially be that team. There's a lot. It's more going off kind of the energy and the potential signings. And we don't know what they're actually going to do in terms of the signings, in terms of who they're actually going to end up bringing in by the end of the transfer window. But, they've brought in a centre-back who's very highly thought of in Newman over in Germany, very highly thought of. They had the best defender in the league last season in Clara. Ethan Laird, I know, is a very good player as well. And there's a lot to like the midfield as well. There's so much talent in that Birmingham team where I do think they've got a real chance of getting playoffs. Automatically say maybe a bit far, but we can't rule it out until we see the end of the transfer window. Now, Wrexham. They're not getting autos. I'm sorry, they're not. But I just want to discuss Wrexham a little bit. We're going to discuss them a bit more in the playoffs, to be fair. Yeah, because that's a bit more realistic. But you never know. Wrexham could do an absolute madness in the transfer market. Because they've signed Ryan Hardy so far in the window, which I think is a very good signing. And I think it's a clever sign and a smart piece of business and a very safe piece of business. Does that scream like the first signing where I think Wrexham are going to really be going for promotion this season? I think Ryan Hardy is a decent championship striker. I don't think it's really like a head turner in terms of that. Makes me think that Wrexham are going to be right up there at the end of the season. So I don't think they'll be in. I don't think they'll have a chance of automatics. That's my personal opinion. I don't think there's any way. Playoffs, you never know. You never know if they make a lot of signings. That's another one where we'll kind of see at the end of the transfer window. But there's a lot to be excited about, and as I said, we'll just go back onto the odds. I do think for me, Ipswich and Southampton are the absolute favourites that the bookies have got them at. I think there's a lot of question marks over Sheffield United. Birmingham, obviously a new team coming up, and I think that person they'll be in a playoff battle. They could be well in amongst the playoffs. I think autos may be a step too far. Coventry, I think they're dark horses for automatic promotion, but I don't think they'll be able to get it. For me, I'm pretty set on Ipswich and Southampton right now. But let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think is going to get them automatic promotions? As I say, in a couple of days, I'm going to do a video more discussing the playoff battle and them kind of mid-table teams and who I think could break out into a potential playoff battle next season in the Championship. So do stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed it, drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. As I say, if you want to see them videos come up in the future, we're going to be discussing a lot in the Championship coming up. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, it would be very greatly appreciated. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.